Hey guys, you might be trying to find ways of growing your business and earning more sales. And I thought that I would toss out an important topic to think about before the next time that you have to make a very important sales call or meeting or you're showing up at an event. Why I recommend getting grounded. So, I specifically chose this background because I want you to feel just warm and cozy for a minute and just settled and things are quiet. Because I think that far too often we're focusing on, like, give me the hack that's going to make me $1 million tomorrow so that I can grow my business, which yeah, it would be nice. But a lot of times there are some very basic steps that we can take that you have at your disposal right now that we're often not leveraging in order to be able to make more money in terms of our businesses. So, really quickly, if you haven't already, I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel and then check below my video for the description box because I've got an amazing tool on how to be able to help you master sales calls, how to be able to do them in a more effective way, right? And it's a really good how to on how to be able to do things in a way that's not going to cost you a ton of money, but also is going to get you better results when it comes to sales. And this particular technique, I think, is a critical one. I think it's a really, really important one. Before you get on a sales call, I want you to spend some time getting grounded. So, what do I mean by that? It could be something as simple as taking a couple of deep breaths, right? Just breathing in, breathing out, and just taking 5 minutes. It could be just taking a minute and just closing your eyes and centering yourself. You don't even have to do deep breaths, but just close your eyes for a minute. Just get quiet, get silent, pause, right? Listen and be observant to all of the sounds that you hear. And I want to tell you that very often, things that I'm talking about, like sales and meditation and reflections, those things are often not talked about at all. It's like, give me the money in business. But I think you miss out on three key things when you don't try these techniques before you have to make a call, or if you're doing an in person sales event, or if you have a presentation, let's say you have to be able to make. So here's one of the things that you're missing. When you take those 2 or 3 minutes, and listen, guys, even if it's just 30 seconds, it'll count. What happens is that by giving your body time to like really decompress and process everything that's happening, you're going to handle objections way better because you're going to be present. You're going to be able to hear what the person is saying. And even if the objection that they're giving you honestly just gets you really mad, okay, so then this may not be the client to work with you, and that's okay. And you can agree to end the conversation in a way that doesn't leave your energy off center. I find, for example, that when I'm doing events where I'm speaking, and I know I'm going to have a very large crowd that I'm working with, or if I am getting on a sales call where it's like, oh my gosh, I really want to work with this client. Oh my goodness gracious. I do this very technique, and for this exact reason. Because if halfway through the conversation you realize maybe this isn't a really good fit at all, or maybe you're getting a lot of things tossed your direction, you're going to be in a better frame of mind to get creative, to come up with solutions for what you could potentially work with, or even if it's not a perfect fit at the end with the sales call, you can agree to walk away, take your energy and your ideas, and then just go right on to the next sales call. I've done it a couple of times where I had a conversation where I would have 2 or 3 meetings back to back via phone, and the first call just threw me for an entire loop. Well, those times that I did this practice that I'm recommending for you, then when I had to make the second and third phone call, I didn't feel that bad, right? I didn't like the first phone call. I'm not saying you might enjoy it, but it gave me a better space to handle when something negative happened, or when I handled or had to deal with the objections, to then be able to pivot and go into the next conversation. And your energy as an entrepreneur, by the way, it's something you've got to protect, and you've got to make sure that you're always looking after and you're preserving. So don't bypass this idea and think, yeah, I'll do that. Actually set aside time, make sure you don't have your calls completely back to back. So I often will like to schedule things where I give myself at least a 5 or 10 minute break between one and the other, because this one here, my friends, this one is critical. You want to be able to handle objections way easier, and you'll do that when you give yourself time to breathe. You also are going to be able to close more deals. And here's why. If you just started out for a minute, if we just took a minute right now, right? And you just started doing some deep breathing, and you started getting really present to what was going on around you, you would start noticing more subtle sounds. So I did it right before I actually started filming this video, and I heard the birds that probably had been tweeting outside of my window for, I don't know, however many hours. All of a sudden, I became really present to what was going on. Well, guess what? In business, the more present you are to your customers' needs, the more present you are to the things that they need solutions around, that's how you make more money, guys. So I will give you a perfect example of how getting grounded is actually a really critical one that happened in the beginning of the pandemic. When the pandemic first hit, I was challenged, like many entrepreneurs. Well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make more money? And I purposefully got on the phone, called a bunch of my former clients after the initial news hit, and we all had to, stay at home for a period of time, and just started having conversations with them. And I purposely made sure that before I got on each call, before I got on each conversation, Maya, take a moment, breathe deeply, center yourself, get really, really focused. Don't get obsessed with trying to make money from this client or figuring out how you can make money or what's going to happen. Just be present. And I will tell you what happened and what surprised me on a number of these conversations is, I did actually wind up closing a bunch of deals. I did wind up getting a bunch of opportunities. In my case, speaking opportunities and coaching opportunities, because I was able to listen to the needs that the client had. I was able to focus on the conversation. I was able to hear the problems better, and it made it easier to pitch solutions that were going to be a win-win for both of us. Okay. So this technique, it's kind of woo-woo. And yes, you may be thinking like, okay, that's nice, but does this really make me money? Yes, it most definitely can, because you'll be in a better position to hear the needs of your clients versus you trying to get yourself together and centered. Because listen, a salesperson that is able to serve their customers' needs, they just make more money, period. That's what it comes down to. All right. And then I want to give you a final thought about this idea of centering yourself and getting yourself grounded before you have a sales call. Listen, one of the best things that I think salespeople can do, or any entrepreneur can do in their business, because you are your number one salesperson in your company, by the way, is learning how to sell better. Right? So there are a whole host of techniques that I give you in the guide, in the freebie that I have underneath this description box, that will teach you ways of how to be able to sell more effectively and to earn more money through sales calls that I give away for free. But listen, that's just beginning to scratch the surface. This idea about getting grounded, for example, is one of probably 100 different techniques and ideas that you want to factor in order to be able to sell better. And I'll tell you one of the things that I think that this technique in particular really lends itself to. The more you practice this, the more you do the very simple things and what may seem like just very basic things, the more it almost becomes natural and a part of how you do business. And to be frank, you make more money, guys. So when I first started doing this technique of getting myself centered and doing deep breathing or quieting myself before a phone call, I would have to sit there sometimes like 5 or 7 minutes and be like, okay, Maya, like breathing to really, really get myself focused. Well, the more I've practiced it, guess what happens? I can sit down sometimes for like just 30 seconds and I'm good to go and I'm ready to be able to maneuver and get on the call and feel really focused and really present for what's going on. And so I just want to encourage you, make learning about how to sell and how to sell better and more effectively in ways that suit you, make that part of your ongoing education as being a CEO in your company, because you're going to find techniques that are going to fit really, really well for you. That breathing one for me fits really powerfully because it's not about just memorizing a script or knowing exactly what I'm going to say. It's about me showing up to be the best representative of my company that I possibly can. And the more that you learn these type of techniques, the more that you learn how to sell better, that's going to lead to more money in your bottom line. So I encourage you, take this tool and take this technique. Don't hesitate at all to get the ideas that I have in the freebie guide that's beneath this particular video and use them, guys. Don't just read them and say, oh, yeah, that's nice. Flip the page, next. No, carve out time out of your schedule, find ways to be able to use them, because these types of techniques over time are the ways that you're going to find yourself growing your business, bringing in more cash, bringing in more sales, and feeling really good about the process as you move forward. All right. So wishing you all the absolute best and happy cash flow, y'all.